Hello and welcome back to Housewives with Heather. I'm Heather. We are going to continue on with season 1, but before we get started, if you haven't watched my video about the first episode of season 1, I will leave that in the description. Go and watch that one before you watch this one so that you can understand what is going on. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and let's get into it. So we are on to episode 4 now. Obviously, episode 3 ended on kind of a bombshell with Joe and Slade getting into that fight about her getting a job. I said before, like, if there's one story arc this season that I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on, if you couldn't tell already, he's such a loser to me. Slade Smiley is literally public enemy number 1 in garbage candy land. Slade Smiley! I will never remember what it is that Slade Smiley does for work because number 1, I don't like him and I don't care about him. Slade Smiley is being a weird bitch. It is the Joe and Slade relationship, and I was thinking more about it. Even though I find this plot, mostly Slade and Slade's involvement with this, frustrating to watch and kind of sad, just all-encompassing, just like you want to jump through the screen and be like, let her go to work. Like, oh my God. Something about it is interesting in the sense of like kind of commenting on this like romanticization of, is that a word? Like, romanticization. You know what the fuck I meant. This sort of like the way people romanticize like being a stay-at-home girlfriend, even like that shit on TikTok. I'm famously not on TikTok really. The dark energy that emanates off of that app is like a bit too much for me. I feel spiritually bitten every time I open the app, but I digress. It's not about that right now. It's not about that. This sort of trend of like stay-at-home girlfriend, stay-at-home mom, like that type of thing of like this slow life and all that. Obviously part of it is like, yeah, I would like to have nothing better to do than go to Pilates and work on my skincare all day, which honestly, I don't have a job right now, so that is kind of what my day consists of. For as frustrating as it is, this whole story arc, I do kind of like this angle of this actually is not fulfilling for me. I actually have like dreams and goals that exist outside of just being your wife and sitting in this nice house, which yeah, it's nice to have, I'm sure, this gigantic property and all these nice things and access to all this money, but at the end of the day, they even said previously, it's like without people to share it with, like, what's the point?
I absolutely love my job. I work at Countrywide in Fashion Island, Premier Lending Division. I have finally gotten my dream job.
So the episode starts with Joe going into work and she's talking about how she's really excited because she's kind of gotten her dream job. She feels very fulfilled. So while Joe is going to work at her dream job and is very excited, Slade is on the golf course and he's talking about how, and he seems like pissed. He's like, because Joe's decided to go and get a job, I now need someone to take care of like the house and my email. So he's hired a personal assistant, which is this girl named Megan. And I just like, I can't imagine that whatever he does is that important. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what the fuck his job is, but it's just weird. And like she's sitting in the golf cart like while he's playing golf. This is one of those moments where like time of the show really does show. They're kind of making like double entendre like jokes. He's saying like, oh Megan, can you grab my balls please? And like she's picking up the golf balls. Like it's very uncomfortable if I'm being totally honest.
I'm sure if I was not in the golf course today, it would have been quite more men talk, but I'm sure it was held together a little bit more properly because I was there.
Megan, will you grab my balls, please?
I want an assistant that grabs my balls too.
Shut up.
Like this is a prime example of something that would not fly on TV today. It's very like Bush administration pre-Me Too type shit. Nothing too crazy, but like telling your assistant to grab your balls is like crazy. Now this scene is actually most pleasing to me because it's the first time we see my favorite editing trope in all of Housewives, which is where they'll have like two people discussing the same thing and they'll like intercut it like with their sort of respective camps. So like in this case, it's Joe and her friends and then Slade and his friends, like his work buddies. But a lot of the time it's like when they get back from a girls trip and it'll be like one woman talking with her husband and another woman talking with her husband and they're giving two different accounts of the situation. Like they're giving their perspective, but like just the difference in the way they're talking about it is like most pleasing to me. Delicious. There's something about it that feels very like theatric. Like it feels like something you would see in like a stage play. And I know that I sound like an idiot because like, yeah, okay girl, this is how TV works, how storytelling works, like duh. But I don't know, something about the way it's utilized in Housewives is like everything to me. I'll gag at anything they do on Housewives. I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to deal with that.
Slade doesn't want me to work, and I kind of talked to them.
Why he doesn't want you to work?
He like wants me to stay at home and he wants to write me this little check every month and that's all I get to shop and drink with.
She feels weird having to come to me for money, you know, and I give her a hard time if she's not spending it the way I think she should be spending it.
So Joe's talking about, she's like, yeah, he's just being weird about the fact that I got a job, and like now he hired this assistant, which I also think is weird because now I call his phone and now this random girl picks up. Like, it's just too much. And she says, she's like, I don't want to have to ask him for money for everything. Like, he gives me an allowance, and like that's just all I have to like shop and drink with, and I want to have my own money and my own success. And he's talking about, he turns to his friends and he goes, does your wife cook dinner for you when you're at work? Does your wife cook dinner for you when you're at work? And is like mad that nobody's at home cooking dinner for him, when it's like, okay, buddy, if you're so rich, then hire a personal chef, hire a housekeeper. Like, that's the thing, is it's like he's boasting about how rich he is, but he wants to outsource that labor to his fiance against her will. Like, that's the fuck of it all. I'm sorry, this doll is going through too much. This doll goes through too fucking much. And he says, he's like, you know, she doesn't like that I give her a hard time about how she spends the money. Yeah, she's an adult. I don't think she would like that. Yeah, you can't get a job to have your own money. I'm going to give you an allowance, but also I'm going to police how you spend it. Damn, is she dating her dad?
Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud?
Analyze this.
So Slade calls her and is like, honey, like, we got a $400 bill from the gardener. Like, there's a problem. The rabbits keep eating all our weeds, and we all know who fucking Elmer Fudd is around here. And she decides to troll him a bit, and she's like, ooh, I heard the guy who shoots rabbits is this like young hot guy who drives around shirtless. You can have your little toy and I'll have mine.
I heard that the rabbit guy who kills the rabbits in our neighborhood,
They're bad up here.
we heard he's like this really young, hot ball player who like kind of rides around the community topless.
So then we see Vicki and Dawn, and they're basically having a fight about, like, not even a fight, but like, we're kind of just getting a bit more like context on their relationship and the dynamic between them, because she's talking about how Dawn is unemployed and she feels like she does everything around the house, which she does, but he also says, you know, we could help you. You have a husband and you have 2 grown children. Like, we can pick up some of the slack. And she just is kind of like, no. She's clearly a control freak, but like, I have a Virgo moon. I kind of get her. I'm sorry. It is kind of interesting, though, to see the 2 sides of Vicki at play, because she's talking about, she's like a workaholic, she's a control freak, but also they're going to the lake and she wants Brianna to call off work to come to the lake. And Dawn is like, well, she can't do that. She has a job. She can't just call out sick to go to the lake. She'll get fired. And she's like, okay, well, I'd rather her come. Like, what, she's gonna make $40? Like, I'll just give her the $40. So it's just funny, like, the motherly side of her versus the workaholic side, where it's like, Vicki would not do that.
I'm thinking, just quit the job. You're gonna make $40 or $30 by the time taxes are done. I'll just give you the $30.
I just would rather have her be there than not.
Well, you're gonna say that until she's an old lady.
So Lauri's also obviously back from New Orleans. She has this guy with her, and she's saying this is Steve. It's like the first guy she's introduced to her family since the divorce. And she says, like, they're not dating, like, they kind of are at odds with what they want, but like, it's nice to have a man around. He picks her up from the airport. Like, it's just, he's just a man in her life. She never really introduces him as like a boyfriend or anything, but she's talking to Ashley. Ashley's just like, yeah, things were good around here.
How did work go today?
It was busy. Vicki was calling me like every hour.
Well, Ashley, why did you not go in on Monday?
Because I was too tired.
You're joking. You're serious. You slept.
Kimberly's back from her trip, her little girl's trip, and her and her husband Scott are touring houses. And who is the one to know for real estate but Jeana Keough? And she's showing them houses. And honestly, like, at this stage, I love just like seeing the women interact, especially because I know what the show becomes. I'm like, yes. No, keep talking. No, keep talking. She mentions that she's having a barbecue. She's inviting friends and clients and all that, and that they should come. And like, the houses she's showing them, yes, they're a bit gaudy. Yes, they're a bit California. Yes, I can't afford them, but I'm an HGTV girl at the end of the day. So I love just like looking at big houses. I've been watching a lot of like luxury house tour real estate videos on YouTube, and a lot of them are like really fucking ugly. Sorry. And honestly, like, because I'm an HGTV girl, one of the things that initially drew me to actually like sitting down and watching Housewives, and why it was so alluring to me at first, and why, like, even when I was in high school, I used to like watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I know. But part of the appeal was like a Cocomelon type thing. I love lifestyle porn. Can I say porn? Like aspirational lifestyle content. I love like looking at big houses, looking at fabulous clothes, that kind of stuff. Like, that is literally Cocomelon for me. From both like an aspirational standpoint of like, oh, how would I decorate this house if I lived here? But I don't know. It's also just like, I like looking at pretty things. I like looking at big, pretty houses. That's why one of the first ones I watched, Housewives-wise, was Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills, Lisa Vanderpump's house, we're not there. Control it. Anyway.
I have to keep in mind that there's music lessons and math lessons and private school tuition and Pilates and personal trainers and tennis lessons and swim team and all those other things that we love to spend our discretionary income on. And if we stretch to get into one, then we would have to eliminate quite a few of those things.
My choice is I'd probably want to spend more money on the house and cut back on the private school, some of the lessons.
So then we see Shane, Jeana's son. He's shooting hoops with his friend, and he's like, if I make this hoop, I'm getting some tonight. And he like misses actually like 10 times. And that's when he is at the asexual conference, and he says, I do not have sex. I'm not a big sex guy.
All right, best out of 3 on that me getting some shot. This is down, baby. Oh, best out of 3.
I do not have sex yet. I am a virgin. I'm not a big sex person yet.
This guy go down, baby. Ah! Best out of 5.
And then Jeana's like, yeah, Shane is not really like interested in girls, which is like, I think that's now like strike 2 on the like Shane gay rumors list. I think it's like the second time it's come up. So Shane is saying, he's like, oh, I'm waiting for the right person. Like, I just want a girl who has like a nice body, nice hair, and she has to have a good butt. And he's like hanging out with these girls he's friends with, which is just like, it's actually genuinely pretty wholesome. But then they're like, oh, we hear a lot of rumors that like all the moms want you, that you're like a MILF hunter. And he's like, what? No, I don't know. This is also, I feel like, in culturally like the golden age of like MILF culture. And like, I know that MILFs are timeless if you ask me, but I think American Pie was more like 90s. But like, when did American Pie come out actually? Let's research. American Pie came out in 1999, but I also feel like the like cultural holdover of like that specific type of culture is very Bush administration America. Stifler's mom, that kind of thing is like very of this time. So I feel like there's a lot of mention of MILFs in this, which obviously it lines up with the content because all the women are talking about wanting to look hot forever and just like wanting to look good. So it's like, yeah, duh, they're gonna fucking talk about MILFs. These women want to be MILFs, and they are. I'm sorry. That's my opinion.
We've been hearing a lot of rumors.
Like what?
I don't know, just stuff about moms.
That like I date moms or moms have interest in me? There's a difference.
Moms have interest in you. We were listening.
That's not my fault. I can't do anything about that.
He's totally into it. He likes that.
Should I not?
We see Vicki and her family in Lake Havasu, and it's funny because the thing about Vicki is I feel like every time Vicki exits the gates, like her blood pressure must go down a lot. Like she's way less controlling, she's way less stressed. Like she's having a fucking ball. When she went to Mexico with Brianna, she was having a ball. When she was in New Orleans, she was having a ball. But when she's in Koto, she is like the human embodiment of stress. So Vicki says, she's like, I don't really consider myself a MILF. And like I said, we are still in like the cultural holdover of like MILF culture. MILFs are honestly as timeless as the sun in the sky, the stars in the sky, the water in the lakes. They are timeless. But Vicki says, she's like, I don't really think I'm a MILF, but like I take care of myself, I work out, and like if Michael's friends think I'm a MILF, then like work. Which like, yeah, like you, especially, not to get like be that person, but I feel like, and I'm not a mom except for to plushies, but with like motherhood and kind of like the attitude towards that, there is this sort of notion where it's like you're one of two things. You're either sexy, desirable, or you are matronly. And like if you can marry the two, then I feel like that's kind of what any woman would want. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I do think that in the MILF conversation there is a fine line between like that mentality and the Sigmund Freud analyze this mentality. So, but yeah, Vicki, she works hard and she plays hard, and I love that for her. Her and her family are having a blast in Lake Havasu.
The water sports really aren't for me. I know I'll break a fingernail or something will happen. But the water sports are amazing out there.
And over in Kimberly land, she's having a 7th birthday party for her son, Travis. She says, like, because she said before that, like, they don't really do sugar in the house or any of that. But she says on their birthday, they can have one of those horrible cereals. They can have soda, they can have candy. And they have, like, a fuckload of candy. Like, when they just show the shots of it, like, there's candy everywhere. Honestly, knowing what we know about Kimberly's health, her being, like, a little bit of, like, an almond mom and, like, a freak about sugar does kind of make sense. So they really go to town. There's kids everywhere. Bianca's helping out, and she said, this is like really good planning for Bianca's future with birth control. And like we just see these kids like tearing her ass up, like pulling her in every which direction. She says a kid shot silly string up her skirt.
And she probably had the worst time of anyone here because she was so nice. She was so helpful with me.
I went upstairs and my bras were spread all over the floor mixed with candy.
She was a very good sport. Golf course, that's the rule.
Meanwhile, while Vicki's having the time of her life in Lake Havasu, while Kimberly's having a fun birthday party, Lauri is in Silent Hill. She's going to go visit Josh in juvenile hall. She said that they've had him there for a while and that he's being held for psychiatric evaluation.
There's Josh's dad right there walking across in the suit. That's the first time he's ever come to court. You know, he wants to get back in Josh's life. I'm trying to set a good example for Josh, and I want him to have a relationship with his dad, but it concerns me. I just don't want Josh to get hurt anymore.
And she says that today could be the day that he's released because he has been submitted for a 5-week psychiatric evaluation just to rule out any severe mental illness or any of that. There is a chance that he will be coming home with her today, which is exciting.
We had a part of a hearing today. His psychiatrist didn't show up with the evaluation. I'm just really frustrated right now because, you know, somebody didn't do their job. So now Josh has got another few more days for sure in jail.
It's basically because somebody didn't do their job. Her son has a couple more days in jail, which is really frustrating because now she just goes home without him. And when she goes home, she pulls in and there's Ashley standing outside the house. And she says, Ashley, what are you doing? And Ashley's like, well, I'm looking for my car. She's like, what do you mean you're looking for your car? Like, a car is a pretty big thing to lose. And she's like, yeah, like I parked it here last night, but I don't know where it is. Car got repossessed. Ashley missed a car payment. Car got repossessed. Lauri says, welcome to my life. She comes home from juvenile hall. Her son is not released because somebody didn't do their job. She comes home. Her daughter, who has started living with her by surprise, her car got repossessed. So that's the fuck of it all. So obviously not just Lauri is dealing with the change in finances from the divorce, but also Ashley, because she didn't have enough money in her account when they took the car payment out. So the car payment bounced and now her car is repossessed. And her and Lauri get into a fight about finances. Lauri's like, well, where'd all your money go? And she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't keep track of that. Again, she's having trouble adjusting to this. Yeah, just another horrible day in the life of Lauri, I fear.
I don't want to bail her out right now because I want her to finally accept responsibility.
Well, you're pissing me off.
Well,
you're not helping the situation at all, so just
Ashley,
stop.
you're not doing anything to help the situation.
Well, I don't know what to do.
It's a catch-22 for me because if I don't bail her out right now, then I'm going to end up, chauffeuring her around. I don't have time to do that.
And then meanwhile, back to Vicki in Lake Havasu having the time of her life. It literally is like Vicki plot, the like dolphins, let me be your symphony. Lauri plot, SpongeBob and Silent Hill. But clearly not everything is so sweet for Vicki because Vicki has gotten pulled over, or Don, I should say, because he's driving. They get pulled over by like the boat police to do like a random safety check, make sure they have like life jackets, the bailers, all that kind of stuff that you need to legally have on a boat. But Don's freaking out because they had a couple beers. But Vicki's just like trolling. She's like flirting with the cops, like not really taking it seriously.
Everybody needs to hold a life jacket. Pass them down. We got life jackets.
We gotta have 9 life jackets, so just have 9.
Hey, that one doesn't count.
Look at.
No, it's a youth that doesn't count. It's a youth that doesn't count. Vicki, shut up.
You want to take it on your boat?
I thought we could flirt our way out of it, and I try to do that sometimes.
And Dawn is like yelling at Vicki, telling her to shut up, which is kind of like jarring. Don't tell her to shut up, but she does kind of need to shut up. Again, Dawn is yelling at Vicki, telling her to shut up. It's like kind of uncomfortable. He's like, I could have gone to jail. I had a few beers. And she's like, you weren't going to go to jail. And she says in her little talking head, she's like, did I marry my dad? Like, why is he yelling at me like this? Which is like now one of many moments where I'm like, even with Joe and Slade, I'm like, is she engaged to her dad? Sigmund Freud, analyze this. So Lauri's back at home and she gets a call from Josh and he's like, things are going good. Like, it sucks that I couldn't get out. And apparently his condition, like his mental health is being managed really well. He's on medication now, which for ADHD has really poor impulse control without medication. Honey, I can relate. ADHD hive, rise. Do you know how many times I will stop recording because in the middle of it, I just start doing some bullshit? Let's just fucking talk about Housewives. And so while Lauri's on the phone with Josh, she says, so she got Josh a public defender, which she will talk a bit about in a coming episode. But so Josh's public defender was able to get a plea bargain for his court hearing. I'm basically just regurgitating what I said. I'm not a legal expert. Don't come to me for legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. Josh's charges were that apparently because of all the trouble that Josh had been in before, they had called the police because they thought Josh had drugs in his hand. The teacher went to check, and then somewhere along the line there was a scuffle. But it was just a kind of a big misunderstanding. At least this is how I kind of interpret it. But in order for the thing to not go to trial, he would have to plead guilty even though he didn't do it. But he's like, I'd rather just plead guilty and then get out of here. I don't really want to go through the whole like court trial to prove it. Like, it's clearly a misunderstanding. I just want to get out of here.
If you say you're not guilty, then they're going to set it for trial, which means it could be anywhere from a week to 30 days.
Well, if the plea bargain is good, I mean, I have no reason. I'd still be willing to take it, you know? Even if I did have to get that with my record, it'd be worth it to me just to get out of here.
Well, I love you.
I love you too.
So we are at Jeana's backyard barbecue blowout with all the ladies, and all the ladies are finally interacting. I've waited and prayed for this moment, but Jeana's husband literally just like leaves. He just is like, yeah, she's really good at entertaining, and then just like walks out. It's kind of weird. And even Jeana is like, because somebody asked her, like, oh, where's your husband? And she's like, I don't know. You're hosting a party and you don't know where your husband is. But he literally just like left. He didn't say where he was going. He just dipped. Again, like I said, this is kind of integral. The brain injury, let's just like remember that.
My wife has probably become more famous and more of a power in the community than maybe I ever was. She makes people feel at home, probably more so to a stranger than to someone she's familiar with, and that's just a gift.
His brother is my...
It's like a party nowadays. It's like a 24-hour, social cycle.
Everybody's kind of sitting at the table, like hanging out, and then way off by the pool at a separate table are Joe and Slade. And Shane is kind of clocking their tea. He's saying to his mom, he's like, this is kind of weird. Like, he's kind of like isolating her from everybody. And Gina's like, well, do you not think he's being a gentleman? And he's like, no. By isolating her, he is intimidated by her because she knows that she's great. He knows that she's great. He's intimidated by her, and he wants to keep her under his control, which, thank you, Shane Keough, because what the fuck have I been saying? And even Shane says, because Jeana says, like, oh, like, do you think she's hot? Like, do you think she's pretty? Are you jealous? Is that why you're saying this? And he's like, no, like, she is beautiful, but, like, Slade just wants to hide her away. Like, nobody else can talk to her. Like, it's fucking weird. Thank you. So then Jeana invites him over. She's like, come and sit. You don't have to sit over by, like, the kids' table. And then Slade makes a weird remark about, like, why they're sitting at the kids' table, because Joe's so much younger than him, and everybody's kind of like, ha ha ha. Thinks it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, this is the adult table.
Hanging out with the kids.
How long have you been together? A year and a half. It seems so much longer. Like it really does. Only because we've been like not. No, it's like.
And even Jeana says, she's like, Joe probably has more in common with Shane than she does with Slade, given that Shane is 18 going into college and Joe is 24 just finished college. Like, they have more in common than Joe and this freak. But not that I feel strongly about it. But Lauri seems to be a bit like towards Slade. She thinks he's funny. She's laughing at his joke, and she says, oh, do you have a brother? You do not want to get involved, queen. And Jeana says, she's like, I love hosting. I love introducing people. You just never know what's going to happen when you introduce people. It's kind of ironic because she's like the nucleus. She was the original housewife and kind of brought this whole thing together. So yeah, we can tell. And then Joe asked Shane, she's like, are you the guy that shoots rabbits? Because she knew somebody had said that the guy who shoots rabbits is cute. So she just literally asked the one guy who was like kind of cute. She was like, it's you, isn't it? And lo and behold. So then Shane goes over to Joe's house to teach her how to shoot the gun and kind of like look after the rabbit problem. And they're just like having like friendly conversation. And then she asks him, she was like, oh, like, what does your girlfriend think about you leaving for college? And he's like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend. And then she's like, I honestly thought you were gay. Which is now like, this is like the second or third mention of like people thinking that Shane is gay.
I don't have a girlfriend. I have a
friend.
Girl I'm seeing, whatever, or girl I pay attention to more than other girls, I guess. I don't know what the hell you call it.
So you're not gay?
Oh, man. You'd like that probably, huh? So you'd have like a gay friend. Do you have any gay friends?
Well, I was just kind of curious.
Really?
I actually don't think he is gay. But then Slade obviously comes home in the middle of all this and then decides to be weird about it. Joe's like swinging the gun around, and then he's just like being kind of bitchy, and his outfit looks so frumpy. I'm like, for somebody who's so, rich and big man in Kodo, you couldn't get some nicer clothes. He looks a fucking mess, but that's just my opinion because I don't like him. But she goes upstairs and she's like, I feel like you're mad at me. Like, I feel like you're being weird. He's like, I come home from work and here's you and this 18-year-old. You're flirting and swinging a gun around. Why don't you guys just get a room? And she's just like, what? We're having a friendly conversation. Like, he's 18. I'm not flirting with him. Like, also, like, you're one to talk. Mr. I'm 36 dating a 24-year-old. move.
I feel an argument coming on because you're giving me a face. Why are you all pissed off now?
I come home from work, my fiance is in the front yard with some 18-year-old boy swinging a gun around. You and Elmer Fudd have your little chat while you sit back and drink. You're out there flirting with him.
I'm not.
Now you've made an
having a conversation.
And now you've totally opened the door.
So the episode starts with everybody in Koto has dogs, and everybody takes their dogs like really fucking seriously, but doesn't discipline them, just like their kids. That's all I'm gonna say. But we see Joe and Slade bought Joe 2 dogs to keep her company in the house. His version of events is Joe wanted 2 dogs. Her version is Slade bought me 2 dogs to keep me company when I wasn't working, but now I'm working and it's just like a lot to take care of. And this pisses me off. What else is new? Because the dogs are shitting everywhere, obviously, because they're dogs. And Joe's picking up their shit, and Slade is just like watching her and like laughing at her and making fun of her and not even helping. He's like, Joe doesn't understand how hard it is to take care of 2 things. You can't even take care of 2 dogs, and I took care of 2 kids, and yada yada. Can you just pick up their shit? So we see Jeana and her badass kids once again, and she mentions she's like, raising 3 kids without my husband. It's been really hard, but I'm thankful for all these people like coaches and friends and extended family kind of like being close with the kids and helping raise them. We see Shane like talking to some biomechanics guy, like getting the science of his baseball throw and blah, 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 blah. And then Kara is apparently just like wants to talk about sex with her mom all the time because Jeana was a Playboy bunny. So she thinks she's some like sex kitten when really Gina's like, I don't want to talk about this. You're 16, we're not doing this.
With Kara being 16, we talk about sex a lot, and I'm not really comfortable with it. Playboy was way out of the loop for what I was normally up to.
Do you know what I learned today in AP Euro? That coitus interruptus is when a guy,
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, but did you know that came around in the 1900s?
No.
Those are the form of contraceptives.
Colton has fractured his hand because he punched somebody because this kid was smoking pot, as they'll call it on the show, smoking pot. And Colton said, hey, don't do that. He was offended. And the kid was like, basically started riling him up and said like, was like making fun of his family and his house. I don't know how you can make fun of the keough's actual literal compound they live on, but hey. But he was saying like, you're from Koto, bitch, you can't fight, yada, yada, yada. So Colton punched him because the injury was on his throwing hand, which is how they discovered it, because his coach was like, your throwing is kind of weird, looks like you have like a boxer's fracture, and they took him to get x-rayed and his hand was like 70% broken. So Gina's taking him to get surgery because she's worried about how this would affect his future.
This injury isn't a kid missing Little League games. This is a kid's future. All right, let's head out in case we hit traffic. It's as important as preparing for college for me. I want to make sure it's fixed and fixed right.
While Gina's taking Colton to go get surgery, Vicki, Lauri, and Lauri's friend Lorelai, that's kind of a mouthful to say, they go out for drinks, and it's nice. They're getting a lot closer, especially after the New Orleans trip, and they're talking about, life at home. Vicki's talking about Dawn, Lauri's talking about Josh and all this stuff, and she says that part of why she got Josh a public defender, like I mentioned, that was that she didn't want, she wanted him to learn a lesson, and she didn't want to feel like she was bailing him out by just like throwing money at the problem and hiring a lawyer. She wanted him to really learn a lesson. So that's why she settled on getting a public defender. The thing is, with Lauri's decision to not get Josh an attorney, I understand her reasoning. I get that she doesn't want to feel like she's just buying his way out of jail. However, I don't agree with it. I think that it would have been easier on her and on Josh if she just got the attorney so he wouldn't have to spend all that time incarcerated, which clearly was really hard on her and obviously I'm sure really hard on him as well.
I pray for Lauri and I pray for Josh, and I know that she's going to have many restless nights again.
If it's any consolation, I just think boys are harder to raise than girls. Michael drives me nuts all day long, and I have to pray every day that I can get through the day.
But Brianna, I don't really feel like I have to worry about her as much. And then we see Brianna and her boyfriend Colby are out on a date, and she's talking about how Colby bought her a promise ring. So they're not going to have sex before marriage. Work. And I'm sure that thrills Vicki, because literally in episode 1, she was like, no sex on prom night, no drinking, no sex. And Brianna was like, we're not going to have sex.
But I need to know where she's at all times. I'm a control freak.
We heard Vicki say that she likes to know where Brianna is at all times. And then Brianna's out on her date with Colby. Vicki is blowing up her phone. She's like, where are you going after this? Where are you going tonight? And she's like, we're going to Newport, to go hang out with Colby's friends and yada, yada, yada. And Vicki is calling her nonstop and being like, no, you have to come home. I haven't seen you all day. And she's like, well, that's not my fault. You were at work, then you went out. I was at work, duh. And so she's calling her, and Brianna says, she's like, it's kind of frustrating because it feels like the older I get, instead of treating me like an adult, my mom almost treats me more like a little girl because she doesn't want to lose me. And then Vicki shows up, and this shot actually makes me laugh every single time, is Vicki going, hi, princess. Truly right into the camera. Hi, princess. Hi, princess.
Hi, princess. I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
Look at this from. This cute little green thing.
I bought it.
Hi, honey.
Hi. Yesterday.
Cute. What are you eating?
A calzone and chicken.
This looks good. What is that?
It's chicken.
Good. Do you miss me?
Vicki is just like, she loves her kids, but it's coming across in a very insane way, which many such cases. And Brianna's obviously pissed because she's just like, can I have one thing? Can I just have this night with my boyfriend? Like, we're literally just gonna go. And Brianna, like, she's a pretty straight-laced kid. She has a job. She's going to school. She's not really like a wild, crazy party girl. Like, she's telling Vicki where she's going. And she's like, I don't want you to drive to Newport Beach 1 hour. I don't want you to drive to 1 hour and then stay there and then come home. I don't want you driving late. It's already like 9 o'clock. Like, ugh. And she says to Colby, she's like, my mom just wants me to be miserable. We will come to see a lot of women on the show who I would not necessarily describe as mother of the year, to put it lightly. Not exactly the best moms. Trust me. Literally in like next season and the season after, believe me, we are going to see some not very mother of the year, but we'll get to that. But there is something to be said about like kind of like this relationship with these mothers and their kids, especially their daughters, and kind of like almost the miscommunication of like how you act versus how it's received. I don't know. I find it very interesting. If I was one of those corny like dark academia aesthetic tweet decking accounts, I would tweet some bullshit like, growing up is realizing that your mom is just a girl, just like you. And I would apply it to this, but I'm not that. So, but I agree. I co-sign that, unfortunately. And speaking of motherhood, we see Lauri going back to the courthouse, hopefully bringing Josh home. But then we see her leaving the courthouse and Josh is not with her. So what had happened was their sentence for Josh was 60 days and he'd only served 58. So she has to come back in 2 days. And she even admits, she's like, if I had just gotten him a lawyer, he probably would be out by now, but like I do want to teach him a lesson, so it sucks. 2 more days, he'll be back on Saturday. And it's just like, I really cannot imagine what she's going through. Not just have your son in juvie, but like you went to go get him thinking he was coming home once, then twice. Let's just hope that the third time is the charm. Fingers crossed for Lauri and for Josh and for the rest of them, honestly. So Slade says that one of the silver linings, I guess, of Joe having a job now, she's not around as much, which means he gets to have more time with the boys. And this is where we find out Slade's hobby. He says when he started making a lot of money, he got into the hobby of collecting like masks and costumes from Hollywood movies. Here's the thing. Here's where I'll throw Slade 2 bones. Maybe 1 bone broken in half and thrown twice. Number 1, I support your hobby. If you have the money and you have a hobby and that makes you happy, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? If that makes you tick, if that brings you joy, if that sparks joy in you, work. Buy those George Clooney Batman costumes for $7,000 each. Work. And even more so, this is the second part of the bone I'm throwing him, is if this makes your kids happy and this helps your relationship with your kids, work. Again, work. Definitely an interesting choice. But he said that his collection got so extensive that he had to get a separate storage facility to keep his costumes in. Like I think he said he had 3 Batman costumes, like original George Clooney Batman costumes. And even Joe is like, that's worth like 3 of my Louis Vuitton bags. Like that is insane. But hey, I'm all for like whatever keeps you young at heart. I say with my little plushies, like who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? For some people, it's a $7,000 George Clooney Batman costume. For other people, it's plushies. So you know what, Slade? I will give you that. But still, that is a little bit insane just for the cost of it.
I was about 6 or 7 when my mom and dad got divorced. Well, the whole idea was to load everything at once. My dad is pretty much like the perfect dad. He has fun with us. He's definitely a really big kid. And you think he's had enough rest yet?
No. And he said the best part about his collection is that it does make the kids happy, so I will give him that. But I just have one question. How much money does Slade Smiley make? Like, genuinely, how much fucking money does this guy have? Because between the house, the car, all of this stuff, I need to know what this alleged commission is. But Like I've said before, knowing what we know now about the economy, I can't imagine it's going to be good for Slade for much longer, but that's just me and my opinion. Just something to consider. Anyway, and speaking of people who are out of work, Don, Vicky's husband, has found work helping flip this house to sell and hopefully make a lot of money off of. And he invites Michael to come and help out for the day. And Michael kind of gets there and is like, this is not the tea for me. This looks like a little bit too much work. Michael, who is a famous underachiever, goes, I actually have a lot of homework, so I think I should go and work on that. And even Dawn is like, something like, Michael has done no fucking homework all summer, and all of a sudden now it's, I have homework, I have to go. But Michael, as we can assume, is not going to go do homework.
You're flunking out.
I called that before. I called that before he showed up.
It's all important. Is that hilarious?
You want to go in the pool? I don't know. It better not be chilly. If I get a chill, I'll be pissed.
And something interesting, like the knowledge that I have that I'm now sharing with you about how Vicky even got on the show was because Michael thought that him and his friends would be a good candidate. And it is kind of funny that like his summer just consists of a whole lot of like nothing. So like, thank you, Michael, for not being very interesting, but letting your mom into our television sets. Like, thank you. Literally, thank you. I'm not even joking. Thank you.
I'm going to pick up Josh. I'm wondering what can go wrong this time. So, Sophie, you can stay outside with Steve, and so when we come out, you can give him the note. I'm really disappointed. I was really, really, really upset with Ashley this morning. She wouldn't make it.
You should come with us. You should come. You need to be with us.
She said, you know, I'm not going to celebrate him coming out of juvenile hall. That's nothing to celebrate. And see, that's not the way I'm looking at it.
Lauri happy moments. Literally Lauri fucking happy moments. Josh is out of juvenile hall. Literally third time was the charm. Thank God. And Josh says he's really happy to be out. He's like, it's nice to like feel the sun on my face, which is so bleak. Not walk with my hands behind my back, all that kind of stuff. And Lauri just seems so happy to have him back. Like she was worried sick. This is just so like, yay, thank God. And he does want to learn from his mistakes. He doesn't want to end up in that situation again, and also doesn't want to put his family through that again. He says his mom has been there with him through everything, and like, it's just really nice to have him out, like for his sake and again for Lauri's sake.
Well, here's to the changes, Josh.
Cheers, Mom.
Your new life that we're going to experience, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do like a little like Father's Day, Happy Father's Day segment. In the title card, they use Comic Sans as the font, which kind of made me think like, that's very of the times, but it does make me think like, this is like the Sims 1 of Real Housewives. Like if what we know now is Sims 3, but I love Sims 1 just like I love this, and I love Sims 3 just like I love Modern Housewives. Sims 4 though, maybe that's where the RHONY reboot is.
We have everything. You have your handcuffs. Everything's good? Okay, come on. In the car you go. Today's Father's Day, and we are actually taking Slade. We're going to get massaged, but he doesn't know where we're going yet.
So Joe takes Slade to the spa to get a little massage, and she takes Gavin and Grayson for the day. You know, take fatherhood off of his hands, let him relax, and step in for the day. And she doesn't think she's cut out for it.
The thing I enjoy the most when we're throwing a party is to kind of creatively think about it ahead of time. So that's when I do my planning. Both Scott and my dad love going to the beach, so I put together a picnic.
Family time is very important to us. It doesn't matter what we do as long as we're together. We always figure out a way to have a good time.
Kimberly has a nice day with her family on the beach. They're giving Scott a bunch of gifts. It's really cute. And while Slade's at the spa, Joe takes the kids like grocery shopping to prepare for the picnic they're going to have on the beach with Slade later. But it was nice of her to kind of step in and play mom for a day, because that's literally the one thing Slade has wanted her to do, for better or for worse. So that was really good of her, and Slade really appreciated it. I say begrudgingly. So yeah, they finished the day having a nice picnic on the beach after Slade's massage, and Joe realizes she's like, this was not the tea for me. It was nice to step in and play mom, like for Slade's sake, but I just don't think I'm really prepared or cut out for this right now. I don't cook, I don't clean, I'm not a mom, I don't have kids. This is not the tea for me.
I tried to play mommy this morning, and it was exhausting. I don't know if I'm cut out for this motherhood thing.
So then we see Vicki and Brianna having a very awkward lunch. And Vicki kind of expresses like Brianna, because she doesn't really have a relationship with her biological father, she doesn't really have like a father figure in her life. And even Brianna says she's like, my relationship with Don is like a little bit odd because like he considers Brianna and Michael his kids, but like Brianna doesn't really know if Don is like just her mom's husband or if he is a father figure for her. So she doesn't really have like a father figure, so to speak, and Vicki kind of plays the role of that. Yeah, they have a very awkward lunch. Vicki kind of says, she's like, you should call your biological dad. I know you don't have that much of a relationship, but like it would be nice. And she kind of makes a comment about how like she's worried that Brianna's clinging onto her boyfriend because she doesn't have a man in her life. Again, I'm not touching that one. This is one of those moments where it's like, ooh, something about it is like very raw in a way of like a mother-daughter relationship where it's like Brianna sees it as Vicki being a control freak and wanting her to do things the way she would do them. Whereas Vicki's kind of trying to get across that she doesn't want Brianna to do what she did. She doesn't want her to be 35, realizing she never dated anybody else and isn't happy with her life. And she kind of tells Brianna that, I don't want you to experience what I experienced. And, you know, maybe you might want to date other people. And Brianna obviously doesn't like that because she loves her boyfriend. And it is just kind of weird because it's like, I understand where both of them are coming from. It's just like the way a mother and her 18-year-old daughter would butt heads over something like this. But does kind of give us a bit more insight into their relationship.
Exactly where I was in high school.
I don't think
like
any other guys are cute. I don't think about that. I don't care.
Don't you think you guys should date other people?
Ooh, God, seriously, stop. Please don't bring that up.
I think you should.
No.
I don't want you to date the same person.
Well, I do. I don't really care what you think. I don't have to be like you.
So we see Kimberly, and she's at a dance class with her kids, and she's talking more about her experience with skin cancer. And she's sort of talking about how like there's a lot you can do to prevent skin cancer. Wear sunscreen. If you're watching this, wear sunscreen. Not just because you think that it's going to stop you from aging, but because skin cancer is a real fucking thing. Wear sunscreen. Cover up in the sun. Hats, umbrellas. I've personally been known to wear a UV shirt every now and then because I don't want to get a sunburn. I don't want to get skin cancer. She mentions too that she wants her kids to learn to live their life to the fullest, live in the moment, and not let fear hold them back. Like, be cautious and be careful and be mindful, but don't let fear prevent you from living in the moment. And I just generally think that's like a really good lesson. That's a good lesson to teach your kids. Even a lot of adults, myself included, could learn something from that. And then we see her go into the doctor's office. So she's going to the doctor for her regular checkup. And she says this is actually an important one because she does have a couple moles that she is a bit worried about, and also wants the doctor to check for moles that she can't see, which is super important. And he does see some that he thinks they should biopsy. She'll get the results in a few days. And she says that she's not too worried because any biopsies she's had over the last few years have come back negative, which is really good.
You know, it's important to me to allow my children to learn to be in the moment, but also not to let fear cripple them.
So back to Vicki and Lauri, who are at work at Vicki's house, and they're mentioning again their relationship's a lot closer. And Vicki seems to really have like loosened up a bit around Lauri because she says she's like, I'm tired, like let's get drunk, like let's go in the spa. And Vicki's house, gag. I'm sorry. If I had a backyard like Vicki's, like literally in a place that can make you change, fall in love again and again. Like everything is fucking romantic in this house. I'm sorry. I know I've said this like 4 times, but being at Vicki's house could actually heal me. This spa, her little grotto, her pool, like I need to have 2 bottles of wine with Vicki in the spa right the fuck now. But I digress. Michael is saying that Lauri is like the most beautiful woman he's ever seen, which seems to be a common theme. She is gorgeous, so like I don't blame him. And we're back to talking about MILFs. They're all saying Lauri's a MILF, which, yeah.
That's just the end of our second.
The definition of MILF is mother I'd like to I'd say Lauri would be considered a MILF, yes.
You know, when I first heard the term MILF, I was actually offended, and now it's flattering. I find it flattering now.
Come on, we don't fight. No, it's okay.
I don't consider Vicki a MILF, but I've heard Mike's friends say that she is.
Anyways, so Slade and Joe are going on a little date night. He said, like, Joe planned an amazing Father's Day, so I planned a date for us at a go-kart racing place. And they decide to have a little competition. Joe says that if she wins, Slade has to buy her a new Louis Vuitton bag. Reasonable. Your husband's always talking, or fiance's always talking about how rich he is. So yeah, Seems pretty fair. Slade's Slade's prize is if I win, I get to see you cleaning the house in a French maid costume. What the hell, sure. Her immediate response is, honey, I don't clean. I'm rooting for Joe to win because she deserves that Louis Vuitton and I don't want Slade to win.
This really has absolutely nothing to do with competition. This is just Slade wanting to see me in some silly costume.
So Slade wins. So now he gets to see Joe clean the house in a French maid costume. But for what it's worth, Joe does say, she's like, I feel like this was really good actually for us. It kind of broke up the tension because they have been fighting a lot. Things have been really awkward and kind of tense between them, with her getting a job and him not agreeing with that, and then Shane Keough being over at the house and him thinking that she's flirting, and just like a lot of mess happening, and they're just not really on the same page. Shocker. But she said this was good to kind of like break up the tension and just have fun and be silly together. So if she's happy, I'm happy. If she likes it, I love it. So we get this weird scene of Joe cleaning the house in a French maid costume. It's just so weird. She looks fantastic. She looks fucking phenomenal. But it's so weird. It's very weird and kind of uncomfortable to watch. Just, Slade thinks he's the housewife, like at the end of the day. And he's like, I don't know what was more exciting, seeing Joe in that French maid costume or seeing her actually use a cleaning product. So it's just like, the information I'm triangulating and I'm putting together is they have cleaners. They have a gardener. And he wants her to stay home and take care of the house all day.
That's my girl. Yeah. Come here, baby. We gotta bet more often, baby.
And if there's one thing the show is gonna do, it's gonna be to have a drastic 180 in the tone of the episode, because right after this goofy, silly, stupid, weird, I could keep going, scene between Joe and Slade, we have Kimberly at home, and she gets a call from her dermatologist, and her biopsy results came back. And her biopsy was malignant, so the doctors are concerned because this is her 5th malignant melanoma, which is just unheard of. According to the doctors, like for somebody to have 5, like it's so sad. It just sucks. And she even says, she's like, I don't know why my immune system keeps letting me down and keeps producing these things. Like it is heartbreaking, honestly, because she is really young, and like to have gone through this so many times, like I can't even imagine. And she gets it actually is really heartbreaking because she gets really emotional, and she says that if it's metastasized, it can kill her within 5 months. And she's crying, and she's obviously really upset, which is completely understandable. And she says, she's like, I'm not afraid of dying. She's afraid of leaving her kids and leaving her husband because she just doesn't think anybody could ever love them as much as she does. It's just really heartbreaking because her kids are so young and she's so young, and like, it's just like, fuck cancer. Like at the end of the day, fuck cancer. It just breaks my heart. Like at the end of the day, like it breaks my heart. I have nothing funny to say about it. It just is so fucking sad.
If it has metastasized, it could kill me within 4 months. I'm not afraid of dying at all. I'm afraid of leaving my kids and Scott. Because I don't think anybody could love them as much as I do.
I don't like when people are sad. Like at the end of the day, that is like a big part of who I am as a person. I don't like when people are sad. Like I don't like when people are sick. That's just kind of like part of who I am, is like, I just like, even in this moment, I want her to be okay, even though I know she's okay. I don't know if that makes sense, but like in Housewives, everything is spoilers and nothing is spoilers at the end of the day, because they're real people. So if you just Google her, you see she's still alive, and thank God, like that makes me so happy. But watching it, I just like, my heart breaks every single time. Like it's just so sad to me. There is a sassy man epidemic. The Playboy party drag. What? We prayed for this moment. Everyone was so happy. Thank you, God. I would say taking the plates off someone's car, that's crazy. 6 weeks later, who does Slade start dating? It's such good news. I love good news. I love good news. I love to encourage people to buy things. Thank you.